The sound of screeching brakes shattered the silence of the early morning. 12 rusted, broken-down cars rolled one after another into the dusty lot of a tiny repair shop at the edge of town. Their engines were dead, their tires were flat. Some had shattered windows, while others looked like they had been abandoned for years. The workers, standing nearby, watched in confusion. Then came the laughter, not from the mechanics, not from the neighbors, but from the woman who owned the largest luxury dealership in the city. She stood across the street, smiling as her employees recorded everything on their phones. The pile of junk wasn't an accident. It was a joke. A cruel joke aimed at a struggling single father who was barely keeping his small garage alive. And nobody watching that morning could have imagined that 3 years later, the same man would walk into her office, sign a stack of papers, and become the new owner of her dealership. Before we begin, if you believe kindness is stronger than arrogance and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you are watching from, share this story with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories. The small garage belonged to Ethan Carter. At 38 years old, Ethan's life was nothing like he had imagined. 5 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a long illness, leaving him alone to raise his 8-year-old daughter. Lily. The loss had broken something inside him. For months, he struggled to function. The bills piled up. Customers disappeared. The future looked darker every day. But whenever he felt ready to give up, he would look at Lily. She was the reason he got up every morning, the reason he kept fighting, the reason he refused to surrender. Ethan's garage wasn't much to look at. The building was old. The paint was peeling. The sign above the entrance was faded. But inside, 2090, that shop lived honesty. Unlike many large repair businesses that charged customers for unnecessary work, Ethan believed in fixing only what needed fixing. If a repair could wait, he told customers. If they couldn't afford something, he found a solution. Word slowly spread. People trusted him. Unfortunately, trust didn't always pay the bills. Just 5 miles away stood Monroe Luxury Motors, the most successful dealership in the region. Its owner, Victoria Monroe, was wealthy, ambitious, and known for treating business like a battlefield. To Victoria, success wasn't enough. She wanted dominance. She wanted every customer, every market, every opportunity, and she hated seeing small businesses survive where she couldn't control them. At first, Ethan didn't matter to her. He was just another struggling mechanic. But as more customers began choosing his affordable repairs instead of purchasing expensive replacement vehicles from her dealership, Victoria started paying attention. Then she became irritated. Then she became obsessed. Her advisors warned her that Ethan's growing reputation was influencing local buyers. Instead of replacing cars, people were repairing them. Instead of taking loans, they were visiting Ethan's garage. To Victoria, that was unacceptable. She believed she could embarrass him publicly and drive customers away. That is when she came up with the stunt. The 12 broken cars were vehicles the dealership couldn't sell. Worthless inventory, scrap metal. She arranged for them to be delivered to Ethan's property before sunrise. The message was clear. She wanted everyone to laugh at him. She wanted him to look like the king of junk. Videos of the event spread online. People mocked him. Comments poured in. Many predicted his business would collapse within months. Ethan read every comment. Each one felt like another stone added to the weight already crushing his shoulders. That night, after Lily fell asleep, he sat alone in the garage staring at the broken vehicles. The moonlight reflected off cracked windshields and rusted metal. He felt humiliated, exhausted, defeated. Then something unexpected happened. He started looking closer, one by one, car by car, and he realized something. Most people saw garbage, but Ethan saw potential. The engines weren't completely destroyed. Several frames remained solid. Many parts were salvageable. Some vehicles could even be restored. A small spark ignited inside him. Instead of paying to remove the cars, he decided to rebuild them. The next morning, he got to work. Every day after serving customers, he spent hours repairing the abandoned vehicles. The process was slow. Painfully slow. Money was tight. There were nights when he barely slept, days when he skipped meals, weeks when he wondered if he was making a terrible mistake. But Lily became his biggest supporter. After school, my bay for, she would sit beside him doing homework while he worked. Sometimes she handed him tools. Sometimes she cleaned parts. Sometimes she simply smiled. And somehow, that smile always gave him enough strength to continue. Months passed. Then one miracle became another. The first restored car sold quickly. Then the second. Then the third. Customers were amazed by the quality of Ethan's work. His reputation grew. People traveled from neighboring towns to see the rebuilt vehicles. Local newspapers started writing articles about the mechanic who turned scrap into opportunity. The story spread far beyond the city. For the first time in years, Ethan felt hope returning. Victoria noticed too. At first, she laughed. Then she grew uncomfortable. Then she became worried. Her joke wasn't destroying Ethan. It was making him famous. Meanwhile, Ethan reinvested every dollar back into the business. He hired another mechanic, then another. The garage expanded. The old building received renovations. New equipment arrived. The tiny shop that once struggled to survive was slowly transforming into something much bigger. But success didn't erase the challenges. There were setbacks everywhere. Economic downturns, supply shortages, unexpected repairs, financial risks. Several times Ethan came dangerously close to losing everything. Yet, each obstacle taught him something valuable: patience, discipline, humility, most importantly, gratitude. Unlike Victoria, who measured success only in profits, Ethan measured success in people. His employees became family. His customers became friends. His business became a community. As years passed, that community grew stronger. Then came the day nobody expected. Monroe Luxury Motors began experiencing serious financial problems. Victoria's aggressive business practices had created enemies. Customers complained. Reviews declined. Debt increased. Poor investments drained resources. Competition intensified. For the first time in her career, she wasn't winning. She was sinking. Investors started leaving. Banks demanded repayments. The dealership that once seemed unstoppable was now fighting for survival. Victoria worked around the clock trying to save it. Nothing worked. The pressure consumed her. The confidence that once made her seem invincible slowly disappeared. Eventually, the company was forced into a sale process. Potential buyers appeared. Most offered amounts far below what the dealership was worth. Then one offer changed everything. It came from Carter Automotive Group. Victoria stared at the paperwork. She read the name twice, then 3 times. Her hands trembled. The buyer was Ethan, the same mechanic she had humiliated years earlier, the same single father she had tried to destroy with 12 broken cars. By then, Ethan's company had grown into one of the region's most respected automotive businesses. What started as a tiny garage had become multiple service centers, restoration facilities, and vehicle sales operations. His success wasn't built on shortcuts. It wasn't built on greed. It was built on trust. When the final meeting arrived, Victoria expected revenge. She expected humiliation. She expected Ethan to make her feel the same pain she once caused him. But when he entered the room, something surprised her. There was no anger on his face, no arrogance, no satisfaction. Only calm professionalism. The acquisition proceeded smoothly. Documents were signed. Assets transferred. Ownership changed hands. The empire she spent decades building now belonged to the man she once mocked. Yet Ethan never mentioned the joke, not once. Because while Victoria had spent years trying to defeat others, Ethan had spent those same years improving himself. He understood something she never had. Success becomes more meaningful when it doesn't require someone else's failure. After the sale, many people expected him to fire her. Instead, he offered her a consulting position to help employees transition through the ownership change. The gesture shocked everyone, especially Victoria. For the first time in years, she found herself speechless. She had prepared for punishment. She received grace. And sometimes grace is far more powerful than revenge. Months later, the dealership was thriving again under Ethan's leadership. Employees felt valued. Customers returned. Trust was restored. One afternoon, Ethan stood in the service area watching technicians work. Nearby sat a restored vehicle, one of the original 12 cars. He had kept it all those years, not as a trophy, not as a reminder of victory, but as a reminder of perspective, because life often hides opportunities inside hardships. The things meant to break us sometimes become the very things that build us. Lily, now a teenager, walked beside him that afternoon. She remembered those difficult days, the unpaid bills, the sleepless nights, the fear. She also remembered the determination, the courage, the hope. Looking at everything they had built together, Ethan felt emotional. Not because he owned a dealership, not because he had become wealthy, but because he had kept his promise. The promise he made to himself after losing his wife. The promise that no matter how hard life became, he would keep moving forward for his daughter. And he had. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories like this to people around the world. And before we reach the ending, I have a special request. Please comment below. Kindness always wins if you believe good character is more valuable than money, power, or status. As the sun began setting that evening, golden light reflected across the dealership parking lot. Customers came and went. Employees laughed together. Busyness continued as usual. Yet for Ethan, every moment carried deeper meaning. Years earlier, 12 broken cars had arrived at his door as symbols of humiliation. People saw garbage. People saw failure. People saw the end. But Ethan saw possibility. He chose perseverance instead of bitterness, work instead of excuses, compassion instead of revenge. And because of those choices, the joke that was meant to destroy his future became the foundation of his success. The lesson is simple but powerful. Never underestimate someone who keeps moving forward despite pain. Never laugh at people fighting battles you cannot see. And never assume a difficult chapter is the end of someone's story. Sometimes the very thing that looks like a curse today becomes tomorrow's greatest blessing. Because life has a remarkable way of rewarding those who refuse to quit. And sometimes, the broken things left at your doorstep become the keys that unlock your destiny. The end.